Hello, welcome to the demo video to show you how to use the new Theatrical Firearms Safety Course test records page on the SAFD website. So first thing you need to do is make sure to log in to the site so that you can have access to the page. You'll put in your username and password like you do for the rest of the site. And you'll go over to the tests page menu that will now show up in the top right-hand corner of the page. This is all of the same as it is for the SPTs and SPRs, but now we also have a new test type. And as you notice at the top here, when you're creating a new test, you can either create an SPT or SPR, or you can create a firearms test. So to create a firearms test, you'll click that button. This page is also the same as the SPT and SPR page. You need to create a name for the event. So we'll call this one Firearms Fake 2, and a sponsor from Fake Organization. Choose a date for the test, and you can plan it way out in the future if you want to. And a city, and state. And you won't need to do anything in this area because there's only the one option for the firearms test. Once you save the event is now created, and it will be in the records. And now the next step is to choose the Theatrical Firearms Instructor. So the same information that you had on the last page now shows up here. For the Theatrical Firearms Instructors, you can choose from any of the current Theatrical Firearms Instructors from the list. And if you want to, you can choose multiple instructors for the same test. The next step is to add participants to the event. You click on the Add Participant button down here, and you'll have the Add Participant pop up. So first thing you would do when adding a participant is you would search to see if they are already in the system. And you can search by either their name or their email address. The search works best if you use last name or if you start with email address. So for example, I'm going to add Steinberg, that's me, to the test. Once I've selected the student, I can either add them or I can add them and close the window if they are the only person I'm going to add. But since I'm going to do multiple people, I'll reopen the window and I'll add the next person. How about B-O-U-S? David Boucher. We'll just add him to the test. And if I click Add Now without adding Close Window, you'll notice that the student is added to the event and I can go on to the next student. Let's go ahead and well, how about Eric Fredrickson? Sure, he could do fine on this test. Now let's say you want to add a student that isn't in the database. So you would start searching by, let's create, the student's name is, we'll call them David Fredrickson. So I'd search Fredrickson, and I see an Eric Fredrickson here, and a Kevin, and a Hunter, but David is not on the list yet. So I want to create a new member. You'll notice that's the option up here. I can also, before I do that, I can search by their email address to make super sure, and their email address is david@Frederick. Nope, not there. So I've noticed that the person is not on my list here. So I'm going to click up here, create a new member with email, and it will start the email address with whatever I've chosen. So if I just put in the email address of the new person, the full email address, david@fredrickson.com. I'm going to now click Create New Member. I put in their first name, last name, and it will automatically put in the email address that I put in above. And if I clicked this before I put in the email address, I can edit this field to create the email address. And now I'll click Create. So all you need to do to register a new person on the website is a first name, last name, and an email address. So I create this person. So now it has created a new member and selected them. So here is the new David Fredrickson. And now I can add this person to the test. Once I'm done adding students, I can either add and close, or I can just click Close right here. And I'm back to where I started, but I have my 4 students for the firearms test listed here. So then you host the event, and it's time to grade the students. As the PMP states, the student to pass the test needs a 90% or above on the written test, and they need to pass the practical test in order to pass the overall course. So for the written test, I'm going to slide this bar back and forth here to actually put in the value number of the test. So let's say Zev got a 93 on the written and passed the practical tests. You'll notice that the overall course now has a green check, passed the overall course. David Boucher, 100% on the practical test, on the written test, also passed the practical test, also a pass. Eric Fredrickson here, 95% and a pass. David Fredrickson, however, did not do so great on the written test, only got a 66, but did pass the practical test, but does not pass the overall course. Likewise, if David Fredrickson then redid the written test, that's now a pass, but if they failed the practical test, that's still a fail. So once again, over 90% and a pass on the practical test will show a pass in the overall course. So there's the results for the students. The next thing I want to do is, once I am sure about all of these results, I go up here and I can publish the test. What that means is currently already all of these records are saved on the website as is and in the backend database, but by publishing the site, by publishing the test, by clicking this button up here, switching it to published, now all of these 4 students can see the results of their firearms test on their pages and in their transcripts should they want to print them. I can also, if I've made mistakes and I want to temporarily remove that from them, I can unpublish it and now it won't show up on their personal pages. So in a perfect world, I've created the event, I've added the teachers, I add the students, then I grade each student, and once I'm done grading, I can publish the results to the students. The last thing I then want to do before I'm done with my test is hop over here to the finances page. And this will give me the financial calculations, which is very simple for a firearms test. I don't have to worry about reimbursements. 4 participants, $35 per participant. That is the amount due to the SAFD. I can make that payment either right here through PayPal, or if I would like to send it by check, I need to choose that that is how I am paying, and information about how to send the check will show up. I also have the option here to download an invoice for the test. It will generate a PDF that then downloads, and I can open that PDF in my browser or download the PDF, and this is what that invoice will look like if I need a receipt or an invoice in order to send the payment by check. So that is how you do a firearms test on the SAFD site. After I've done the finances, and I've graded it, and I have published the test, then I am done. And if I now go back to my tests list, I will see the firearms test. If I search for it, there it is, Firearms Fake 2. The test type is a firearms logo right there, and the results are there. Notice at this point the event has been certified, meaning it is published and available to the students, but it has not yet been paid. Once the business operations manager receives payment, that box will show up as paid. So if you're going to the tests page to just look at the full list, you'll see test type. The shield indicates a firearms, a regular SPT or an SPR, and there's just too many tests here to show. But that target shape will indicate the type as a firearms test, and that is how you record a theatrical firearms safety course test on the SAFD website. Thanks very much for being a part of the SAFD.